Hello, I'm Pastor Jeremy Combs, and we're going to pause for a proverb. Let's go. Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 11 says, "My son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be weary of his correction." Hey, it's a fact of life. Nobody likes to be corrected. Yet, everybody needs correction. God does give wisdom from his word, but sometimes he has to give it through what we would call the woodshed. Now, growing up, going to the woodshed meant that we were going to be disciplined. Later in Proverbs, God encourages that the one who is disciplining should not be weary in that process. But here, God's not addressing the one doing the correcting. He addresses the one being corrected. We should not despise, nor should we be disgusted or angry or weary with God's correction. Correction here in Hebrew means to make right. And that ought to be the goal of everyone who is disciplining, is they want to make it right. It's not to get the situation right. It's not even to make them do right. It is to make them right with God, to make them what they ought to be. Sometimes this can happen by chastening. By the word, that word chastening can mean to restrain. All other times it has to be done by correction. This is the idea of to rebuke. If the Lord today has you in his divine woodshed, remember, don't be angry. Don't be annoyed, because it shows that you're beloved and you belong. God the Father chastens his children. And if you're receiving the chastening hand of God, it's a good sign that you are one of his. The very next verse continues this thought, Proverbs 3 and verse 12, "For whom the Lord loveth, he correcteth, even as a father the son in whom he delighteth." I was growing up with my dad. When he would go to discipline, he would always say, "Son, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you." And as a boy, I always puzzled at that, and maybe even debated in my mind, "I don't think so, Dad." But you know what? Now that things have turned, and now that I'm the dad who is disciplining his sons, the light bulb has come on, and now I understand what my dad was talking about. Nobody with the right love and spirit loves or wants to discipline their children. In fact, that's why I believe a lot of people don't do it. It hurts you. It breaks your heart, yes, to see them sin, but even more to that than to have to see them suffer because of their sin. And part of that suffering is being brought on by you. But by the way, I always tell my kids this: when I won't be able to punish you when you are out of the house or when you're in whatever, but God will, and God will punish you in much more harder and severe penalties than you would ever want. I can remember as we got older that our way of being disciplined as children changed. And whereas sometimes it was more the corporal punishment, then it began to kind of get into some of the grounding episodes. And for me at the time, I loved sports. And so it was, you're not going to watch any ESPN, or you're not going to be able to, watch the ball game. And boy, did that hurt. And I would almost be like, go back to the corporal punishment, please. But you know what? My parents knew they had to hit me or had to discipline me where it would hurt and make me recognize I had to change my ways. God can do the same thing. And it may hurt now, but I'll tell you what, it is going to help you later. And so this is what he's talking about. And so, the world tells us if you love your kids, you're not going to discipline them. Nothing could be further from the truth. Remember, love does what is right. And the goal of discipline, remember what it was? It is to make them right. Love would then compel us not to cease from discipline, but then would make us want to discipline even when we don't want to, and even when it's a difficult thing to do. If God disciplines you, remember, he loves you, and he does it so that you can be made right. And so if you're a parent today, let me tell you, don't be weary in well-doing. Do what is right, and discipline in love and in understanding so that they can be right with God. Not just to give you a break, and not to because they're driving you bonkers, but because you want the very best for them. And in turn, if you are being disciplined by God, recognize that that's a good reminder you're his child, and then let the chastening hand of God make you Right. And so that does it for today. Only two Proverbs, but some great Proverbs they are. Are you in God's woodshed? Hey, we'll see you next time.